The Magnificent Seven stocks. The question is, are they still magnificent? I don't know. Let's take a look at the charts and let's find out. Are these still the stocks to be in? Starting with Amazon. All right, so let's look at Amazon here. One of the Mag 7 stocks. This one got hit pretty hard from its high. Fell from 200 all the way down to just shy of $150, which means this stock was going for roughly kind of close to 25% off, which was a pretty huge discount. When you zoom out, this is one of the things we walked the members through and said, hey, with that type of a discount, it looks like we're close to support and the stock will get a bounce. Now that we've gotten a bounce, it's coming back up here to close this gap. However, the stock isn't picking up momentum now that it's had that pretty nice size reversal. We reversed about $24 off the bottom, which is about a 50% retracement. If we can add another $24, then we get back up here to this $202 area. So not bad, 50% retracement in, from August 5th to roughly August 19th, about 2 weeks. I still like the stock. The best time to get involved was down here at this incredible pullback when they had this little earnings blip, and then the market kind of went crazy and everything was selling off. It got pushed down a little bit further, but most people realize Amazon's not going anywhere. It's still going to shop online, and the stock pretty much rebounded. Like I said, 50%. Let's take a look at our good friends Tesla here. This stock technically has not been magnificent at all. If you go back a little bit before 2022, Tesla has actually been in a consistent downtrend for the last 2 years. Now, that doesn't mean you couldn't have made some money buying some of these sell-offs, but if you didn't take profit on any of the run-ups, that sell-off turned into a loss as this stock continued to basically move lower and lower. So I'm not a big fan of buying into a downtrend. And this is the reason why, because if you don't catch it perfect, you end up losing money as this thing continues to crush down lower and lower. Just think about it from this standpoint. Let's say you bought right here and it went down. Well, it never came back up to that area. So you didn't make any money. And then let's just say you bought right here. Well, came down, didn't necessarily come back up. You lost money. Now here, it did come back up to roughly that same area, but you lost a lot of time, pretty much a year from July to July, just waiting for that stock to rebound. So that's money that was just tied up, couldn't be making money anywhere else. And then guess what? It just continues to make lower highs. And then finally, we made a higher high right here. So this one hasn't been magnificent for the Magnificent Seven. I like it for a long-term investment. For a short to medium-term trade, you got to try to catch it on one of these pullbacks, ideally a deep pullback, and then, sit along for the ride. But at some point, I think the pullbacks will subside and the stock will go higher. Maybe that's when we get an interest rate cuts. But at any rate, right now, hasn't been so magnificent. Let's take a look at Microsoft. This is another one of the Magnificent Seven. What I like about Microsoft is you have this well-defined support level right here. And if you're paying attention, that's the key. Number one, paying attention. Number two, knowing what to look for. But this stock hit right down the support, barely made it down there, but close enough. But we came down to support, and since this tap of around the $400 level, the stock has rallied 25 points, which is not bad. Not bad, about 5% or so return off the bottom, which will take it. A 400 move to 425, it's about a 5%, a little over 5% return on that Microsoft stock. And it still has some room to go. The only thing I would be a little concerned about is right here, when you take out this big move there, you're left with resistance, 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 resistance right there. And you can see we're right back at that level. Well, we don't know if the stock's going to break through or if it's going to roll back over and roll down. Maybe it's depending on what Fed Powell says this week. Who knows? But that would be my only gripe about getting to it now. Hasn't been as magnificent. In fact, it's been magnificently basically channeling sideways outside of that breakout. It's been in a magnificent channel. So not really a big money maker as far as being in the uptrend. Let's go to our good friends Google. Google, same thing. It was magnificent for some time. And then you got a very big pullback, just like the rest of the Magnificent 7 stocks. If you look here, I'm looking at this level as support. We had this gap up on earnings. We kind of came back and filled that gap. And now we're just bouncing around possible W pattern to see if we can go higher. We do have a decline in volume, which isn't giving me a lot of confidence right here, right now. So we'll have to see, if Google is something we want to trade or if it's something you want to be in as more of an investment. We know that YouTube, Google, #1 search engine, being an election year, is going to be a whole heck of a lot of ads spent on the platforms, which will probably help it. So perhaps with all of that in play, we get a run back up to 190. I think if you buy now, you're just going to have to wait it out and see, but there's no doubt that there's a ton of money coming into these going into the end of the year. Let's look at the good fella NVIDIA. NVIDIA is actually holding true to the magnificent name. Huge run up, right? Stocks up over 200% just this year alone. But what is impressive is this is one of the only stocks that during the most recent sell-off has pretty much rebounded, not quite 100%, but we're about 13 points shy of getting back to the all-time high, which is roughly about $140. So this one has been the most magnificent out of the 7 so far. You do have earnings coming up. We'll see if that can be a reason for this stock to break out of its Bollinger Band, or is it going to be bad news or not enough good news that sends this back down to the 100 level? I think if you give yourself enough time, long term it goes higher, but short term earnings could throw a monkey wrench in there. 2 more to go. Let's talk about Meta and let's talk about Apple. So Meta in the same camp as NVIDIA from a standpoint that here's the all-time high, here's the sell-off low. This has definitely rebounded back up to the 52-week high recently, right? So, I mean, has some very big selling, and then we got right back up there. Now, a little bit risky trying to buy it. If you look here, this thing is sitting right at resistance. Not my favorite spot to come in and be a hero and say, do we think it's going higher? Especially not after we just missed this opportunity. If you weren't following this to jump in at this 450-ish level. Last but not least, let's look at the good fellas Apple. Very similar situation. Apple had a very nice run up, had a very nice sell off, right back down to previous resistance becomes new support. Boom, new support. This was our opportunity to get in on Apple. If you missed that, nice run up from around the 200 level all the way to 226, about a 10%, 12, 13% run. Now, it's questionable. It's questionable. Decline in volume, smaller candlesticks closer to the top. I think the only way a lot of these stocks move higher is if we get some good news on earnings. And before that, as if Jerome Powell just says the right things when he speaks at Jackson Hole this week. Other than that, the Magnificent 7, they're just looking more like mag average, not necessarily magnificent. So let me know your thoughts. Are you trading any of the Mag 7 stocks? Let's talk about it in the comments. Peace.